Well, my name is Heather Lowey. In 2015, I was getting ready to walk up onto stage in front of a bunch of NHL trainers, equipment managers, and executive staff. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about hockey world or trainers and equipment managers, but they don't like change. Actually, most people don't like change. Men don't like change, okay?
Free.
And I was getting ready to walk up on stage and tell them about a brand change. I was with Adidas at the time, and we were taking over a partnership that they had had for decades. So needless to say, the message that I was getting ready to get up there and deliver was not going to be received necessarily well. And I had practiced this talk and gone through it with my coworkers and all of the people that were presenting throughout the day. And I get ready to walk up on stage and I blacked out. I didn't pass out. I just blacked out. And it was a benefit. Because what happened next was I was just myself. I got up there and I addressed the elephant in the room of this partnership change that not a lot of people in the room wanted. And I did so with respect to what they were leaving, and also with a dose of humor about what my team was walking into. Secondly, there's a little bit of a redheaded stepchild feel between the NBA and the NHL. And I had worked with the NBA for 15 years, and that was a point of contention for a lot of them. Lucky for them, I'm a redhead, and I get the redheaded stepchild feeling. So we laughed about that a bit. And finally, I made them some baseline promises that I knew that our team could commit to. And then I shared with them where our challenges were going to be and where I was hopeful that they would partner with us. And I kind of came out of my blackout fog, intentionally not making eye contact with our head of Adidas Global Hockey, because I was pretty sure he was going to kill me. And it was a standing ovation. And now I tell you that not to brag, although it did feel pretty darn good. I'm not going to lie about that. But I learned a really, really valuable lesson that day and the weeks to follow. And that was to be myself.
But if you're not planning on.
If we are, oh, okay. I don't have a crystal ball saying that the other message would have flopped. But the thing I continued to hear from those guys throughout the weeks to follow was it was really refreshing for somebody to talk with such transparency and to just be authentic. And frankly, if I'm being honest, a couple of my superpowers are connection, authenticity, and transparency. I am not talented at corporate speak. And that's what it was. And so I switched gears. And so it really taught me this lesson of confidence in our leadership and how we view ourselves in those moments. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, before I make you reflect on yourself, I want you to think about a couple of leaders in your life. Now, these can be people you know, these can be people you don't, these can be celebrity leaders, these can be whoever you want in your life. But I want you to picture a couple of people who you admire as leaders and jot down on your paper, what are a couple of characteristics that make you see them as this leader that you admire? So take a moment. You can keep writing, but I would love to hear, okay, shout them out. What are some of the things? And I'm going to preface this with, I am a terrible speller. I'm a terrible speller. So you may give me something that I don't spell very well, and I apologize in advance.
Spelling doesn't come on a whiteboard.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Great, great.
They're self-aware.
Self-aware. Aware. This thing feels like it might fall over on me. What else?
They lead from their values.
Consistent. Lead from values. Consistent. What else? Leadership qualities that you admire. Just like I'm just giving you a heads up of what those are. What we're talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, integrity.
Integrity.
add value to others.
Add value. What else? We haven't heard from everybody.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Authenticity. Is that right?
That's good
Authenticity?
In respect.
Truth.
You have to
Oh, no, it's just because everybody has their videos.
Respect.
How we make-
Okay, anybody online?
Yeah, I'm trying to find a room.
Oh.
The one, I think it's the second room.
You need to be in this room. We're only streaming from this room.
Oh, this room here? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So is that, can you tell me what the name of that one is for the next session?
I'll have next session.
Do you know what the name of it is?
That's the last, this is the last breakout.
This is the last breakout.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm in the right
Yep.
room.
Yes.
Okay,
Dependability.
thank you.
Oh, it's humility or humbleness.
Yeah. Humble. And humility.
Strong communication skills.
Yeah, communication. Have we said what, empathy probably goes into some of these things? Do you think
Yeah.
empathetic?
Good point. I mean.
Okay,
Heather, you have on here influence
Like,
slash
humbling.
inspiring others. I want a leader that inspires others
Okay.
for whatever reason, and maybe it's social media. I have a negative connotation around influence now.
oh,
I don't care to be influenced, I care to be inspired.
it's great,
Yeah.
great,
Because if you're influencing me, you're being paid to push something at me.
right, okay.
That's how it feels.
That's your.
That's how it feels to me.
That's your
Yeah.
interpretation of it, yeah, absolutely, very good.
I'd say they allow others to grow, so they allow for mistakes.
That's good. Okay, great. Continue to write things down as you think of them, right? This isn't an all-encompassing list, but now I want you to think about one of those leaders in particular that you were thinking of. Are they a 10 out of 10 on every single one of these things? If you think of that scale of a 10 out of 10. Now, why is that? Why do you still see them as an inspiring leader, but they don't necessarily have to encompass this entire list? Why is that?
They can still have a majority, or maybe because each person has their own strengths. They can still be a leader, but then you have, because we're all different personality types, so we may be, like, if I'm a high I, and I may not mesh well or be with a high D personality.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Leaders can be great leaders in many different ways. You may have a leader that is amazing at being authentic, but may not have the best communication style, right? But you can still look and be inspired by them. But it's often that we look at ourselves and we think, gosh, we need to be good at everything. We got to be a 10 out of 10 at every single thing on this list.
Gotta surround ourselves with people that can do.
I swear I didn't tell her that we were going to skip ahead to this, but yeah, that's right. No, very good. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Successful and joyful leaders. They know their talents. They embrace being authentic to themselves and others, themselves being a key piece of that. Yes, you have to be authentic to yourself, not just others. And they're surrounded by a diversity of talent, right? This means that they seek people out who embody their development areas. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. And this is important, so I'm going to repeat it. They know their gifts and their talents. There's a great self-awareness there. And we're going to work on that today. What is that self-awareness of your talents? They embrace being their authentic selves, to themselves and to others, and they're surrounded by a diversity of talent. By the way, here's a handout. No, you're fine. Write it up. Okay. So I want you to now think about your secret sauce. We're gonna take the word leader out of that, and we're gonna replace it with you. What's your secret sauce? What are the attributes that you are already strong at, that you can naturally lean into more? Where are the opportunities to just be yourself? To stand up on stage with a message that you know isn't gonna land and still land it? And finally, where are the opportunities for development, but not with a wide net development, picking one attribute? Let's say you have talents of consistency, integrity, and adding value, but you really want to grow in your communication style. Well, let's talk about just communication style, not the entire list, right? Now, for the record, this isn't anything earth-shattering. You could Google this. But what we're doing is we're getting really intentional and focused today for those low confidence moments. We all have low confidence moments in our leadership, in our parenthood, in our life as a Christian, in just as being a human. And so it's what we're going to do today is create a little system for yourself when you're in one of those low confidence moments to have a grounding, a centering point, to know your talents and utilize that. All right, so I've talked enough. What we're going to talk about now is your leadership qualities. On your sheet, there are a bunch of, and they're listed up here on the screen as well. There's a bunch of leadership qualities listed. Now you can go through, like I said, you could Google and find 12 must-have leadership characteristics, 10 things you must do to be a leader in your organization, right? I grabbed a bunch of those words from all the different lists, but if there's another word that comes to mind for you, absolutely add it, okay? And in no particular order. By the way, it will throw me a little crazy to not put these in even in alphabetical order. My OCD was like, are we doing this? We're doing it, we're doing it, okay. In no particular order, but circle 3 to 5 of these characteristics that describe your leadership, okay? Maybe you've been told that this is the kind of leader you are, or you recognize this in yourself, that you are a leader. So 3 to 5 of those things, circle them. Still keep circling, but now I want you to look at that list and put an asterisk next to, or mark it somehow, it doesn't have to be an asterisk. Just 1 or 2 qualities that you would like to develop in yourself. 1 or 2. We're going to celebrate these talents in a second, but what was it like to circle a talent for yourself? What were you thinking as you drew that circle around your talent?
Good energy.
Good energy? Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Anything else? Anybody online have a thought?
Well, I have another, well, I was gonna say sometimes I kind of took a pause on some that I doubt.
Yeah. Anybody else have some doubts, like as they were circling it, feeling a little like, is it? Is it? Sure. Now, who found it difficult to admit that they were good at any of those? No? Nobody did. Yeah?
I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at.
Okay, okay. How about you? I think in the back you said that you had a little bit. Oh, I think you might squeak.
No, yeah, sometimes it's kind of more challenging to kind of brag on yourself. But then I was thinking, but this is what told me that they don't go when I've been in leadership positions, so I just want to add a little bit.
Who found that they circled more things that people told them versus things they thought about themselves? Or vice versa? Yeah. What was that like?
I don't stop to think about myself that way, but I let other people affirm. So I don't necessarily affirm it, but I let others affirm.
similar. I also, and this is perfect. I'm so glad we're talking about this because I've been thinking about this for a while, like several months, about different strengths that I have, and we talk a lot in my line of work about like the strength finders test and
Yeah.
trying to figure out how we can work in your strength and our strengths. And I know it's kind of not sad to say, but I don't know, I guess, all of my strengths, and that's something that I really should know, like down to the core, like just science, but I don't.
Mhm.
That's something I'm interested
Very
in.
good. You found yourself in the right place. We're gonna do that. Okay, one more step and then we're gonna share some of these. So I want you to now take a couple of those ones that you circled and create some I am statements. It's on the next page. So, I am an emotionally intelligent leader. This shows, by the way, I support my team in an emotionally regulated manner, even in times of high stress. That would be an example of an I am statement. So grab one of those characteristics and put it in the I am. And then I want you to think about how that shows up for you. And these are just a couple of examples up there to get you thinking. I'm gonna turn on some music while you ladies think about this. So give it a couple minutes here. Okay, finish writing up, and then we're gonna get into a big circle because we have a small group. So we're gonna do something a little fun. Bring your paper over when you're done writing. And come on over. Yep, out here.
It's scary, but you can go. It's afternoon.
That's right, that's right.
Gotta work off that chocolate.
Need the, yeah,
Right?
it's a lunch, like, yeah. Stop going out to lunch, right? This is one of my favorite parts of a workshop like this, because we celebrate. Okay, this is a celebration of your talents and the way in which they show up. Do I have a volunteer to go first? And I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna do. Who's my volunteer? Brandy will, yeah. Brandy, I want you to give us your best power pose. What is your power pose? And read us your I am statement. One of them for now.
I am a leader with high energy. This shows in how I engage with my clients. I'm more than just a money lady. I'm a life journey.
Oh, nice. Get her down. There we go.
I know.
Okay, all right. Who wants to go next? We're all gonna go, for the record. Okay. Nice.
I'm a person of integrity. That means I'm the same whether someone's around or someone's not, or no matter who I'm with.
Yay.
Well done. Very good. Love it. Thanks.
Oh, great.
Were you- Yeah, what's the power pose
Okay,
first?
so I am a resilient leader. This shows, by the way, I get right back up after missing a goal and not staying stuck.
Awesome. Well done. Anybody?
You know how to do the power pose?
Oh, I like it. Yes.
That's my sword.
Okay.
I'm a problem solver. So this shows, that what help people see path to kingdom for suffering.
Very nice. Well done. Okay. Who's next? You wanna go?
Yep. So I am an empowering leader. This shows by the way I speak life, possibility into others and draw their strengths on the grow.
Very good. All right. Yeah, you gotta stand up. Give us the pose. Give us the pose. Does it have a train? Does it involve a train? Okay, okay.
I am an effective. It shows by the way that I take action, all like with the team members. For.
Done.
Okay.
I am an authentic leader. You get what you get and you get it consistently. Staff know what to expect from me. Oh,
Yeah.
Awesome. Not lost on me, your shirt also says, I am enough.
That's what I was reading.
people will understand that on Thursday.
Okay, okay, good, no, it's great, it was very fitting.
All right, beautiful.
I don't make out no shoes, but.
We'll take them off, girl.
Yeah.
I am an inspirational leader. This shows, by the way, I share my testimonies and other stories, being transparent, showing vulnerability, being authentic, thriving to empower and inspire.
Well done, well done. Now, does anybody have a second one on there that they're like, I really, really want to read this now that we've gone through? Yeah, let's hear it.
Kind of transparent. Because this shows is I will share, open it up when appropriate, it's my personal experiences as failures. As an example to encourage.
Very good, very good.
Very good.
Anybody else? Go, I don't want to cut anybody off. Anybody else want to share another one? Okay, okay. What did that feel like to do that, other than like maybe slightly embarrassing that I made you stand in a pose at first? Anybody? Yeah, it was sort of this like palpable energy, right? I was afraid somebody's gonna like bust through a wall.
Evaluate others.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I personally tend to give more grace to others'
Characteristics.
characteristics than I give to my own.
Interesting. How do you see yourself using something like this in a moment of even, I don't even want to say low confidence all the time, right? But when you're getting ready to go into something bigger and you're a little nervous, how would you use it?
Yeah,
Mm,
I think the power pose gives confidence, and I know we shall be in HR. That, you know, as an HR person, your high heels and your skirt, you're against a 6'2", 300-pound guy, and they're having conflict out there, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, you need to stop right now.
No, yeah.
Sometimes when I think about it, you can have a conversation, it's a natural for me to say it.
That's great.
This is good for me.
And I
You
know
know, saying I'm a leader with high energy. There are a lot of long days and my energy's not high.
Mm,
And so I can catch myself not being an authentic me because I throw my energy back up.
okay.
And then I'm not as authentic versus being able to just say, today's not a high energy day, and that's okay too. So that kind of gave me some pause to think about how to stay authentic. Yeah, like my boss's boss loves to tell people how extra I am, and it's a big joke to everyone. Well, Brandy's that, she's always on. Well, I don't want you to see me as always on, I want you to see, this is me, there's
Mhm.
no on about
There's
it.
no on, yeah.
So just that kind of, some of the other things I wrote about who I was, kind of had to thinking about that.
And next time, you know what you say, I'm not extra, I'm just not living
Ooh.
You're so overrated. There you go. Especially in my world, yeah, I'm old like that, yeah.
I think it gives us permission also to be okay with not being all these things, because we're carrying our.
Right.
I don't have to drink, but, I. A lot of basically that story, but growing up, my dad, you know, always had really nice kids, and I think a lot of parents do, but,
Yeah.
but I felt like I had to be all the things all the time, and like, go to school and work and do sports and all the things, and then, you know, it took like, it, you know, he always was owning his own business, so I've seen a lot of these qualities in him. And so it's like, I have to carry all of that, like, all the time, and it feels like a lot of pressure, but, yes, and so. But doing this exercise, you know, we all are not all these things, right, we all have our different
Mhm.
strengths, so it's, yeah, it's good.
Good. Awesome, great job. Yeah, what, were you gonna say something else? Okay, We'll go back to our seats. Great job, ladies. Good job. We're now gonna talk about, and actually, do you wanna join her over here? And maybe like one or two of you come over here, because we'll do something with the tables and it might be good to be a little, spread out.
Hi, Ellen.
Yeah, go ahead. We're now gonna talk about authenticity, right? So now you have this self-awareness of talents, things that you are good at, and you are standing in that power of the things that are strengths for you. And I think you said it beautifully, right? The thing I would say with authenticity is stop comparing yourself to others, right? What is it? Comparison is the thief of joy. And so what is authentically you, and how do you apply that to your life right now? And so I want you to kind of think about this for a moment, and then we're gonna talk as a table. But what are some ways it would serve you to show up more authentically in your life? Now, this can be in your work life, this can be in your personal life, doesn't matter, we're not restricting this, but make some notes for yourself about your own authenticity. And if you're having trouble thinking like, okay, well, where is it? What does she mean authentically? What's a time where you've had the thought after a conversation where you thought, oh, I wish I would have done the blank. Or if only I could fill in the blank, right? I wish I would have given that person feedback. I really feel this way about it. Well, that means you're holding back on your authenticity in some way. Okay, so those are some ways to think about this. And I'll tell you as a coach, like those are gold moments. When somebody says, oh, I wish I would have, I'm like, ooh, here we go. This is gonna be something good, right? So think about that in yourself as well. Those shower conversations where you're like, oh, I wish I could have said this, I would have said this, right? That's an indication that something is holding you back from being authentically yourself. So take a moment and jot down maybe a scenario or a characteristic about that authenticity. Okay. Okay. Grab a partner at your table and share with them maybe what that scenario was for you and one thing that you want to do differently, how you're going to approach a similar scenario differently. Okay. Take about 5 minutes.
I feel like. I tend to be very pragmatic. You know, I tend to tell what it is, how it is, and I know that whether it's like. Try to be very respectful of people. We got problems. But, that's just how, you know, I don't sugarcoat the situation. It's kind of how I would phrase, this is how it is. You know, I don't have a magic wand, I can't make it go away magically.
What is one? Probably don't really need it.
Yeah.
What is one way in which you would do that?
I'm in a situation or circumstances and speak or do something, instead of thinking about how that might make. I don't know, some situations where I feel like if I give 100%, others might feel bad. I don't know, then I'm like, where should I do? I try to go back and I try to. So, how moving forward? I think that's what I can.
It's like,
Understanding
it's
that.
a lot of scenarios, I always said $2,000 the IRS.
He gave me some zeros, so should I hold back?
Yeah, yeah.
Should I
You know,
take a shot?
Like, yeah, you're messed up, It's a path
You know,
to
some people
redemption.
think, oh, you're so much. No,
But
no,
it's
it's
good
just
to
gotta
be,
give me.
you gotta stick a financial stuff. That would
And I feel
really say
better.
that.
Shining.
Maybe that's not very, maybe that's too crass. but
Yeah, I was like, maybe it
I'm
might
just
be
like,
exactly what that person needs.
Because a
And
lot of
that's-
Exactly.
times, the first question.
Sometimes, you know, it just, they
Is
start working
they
on their journey. But sometimes, you know, like
they
they,
fly into
you know, or.
you know, I hate the.
But, you know, later,
Some
you
of
be an
that
inspiration.
from the
So I'm
dog.
getting so caught
That's
up
not the way
with
to
maybe their first reaction.
The only way
Or
you
even
can
their
sell
faith.
it to that
Or
is on dollars.
Or I struggle is. My doors.
Otherwise, if you have assets, they're gonna want to go backwards
I
and
don't
sell
know,
those
some
assets.
They're not good with conversations. Some days I feel like-
Right, but I'm like, wait a second.
What's one thing you like about what I did?
Would this be a good question? Is there anything you actually feel better? Have this spirit
And
of
so
resentment. You know, they might not, they might not be able, if they feel like things are good, it's taking something away from them, they might not have a place to help them.
Same thing with the
So if I'm just, oh, yeah, sure. And I need to be all warm and open. And then that's-
You know,
You know what I'm saying? While they're still processing it, and their first reaction might be, whatever, I heard that all before. Then they might pull it back and not, and then I'm not able to, you know.
And so.
I don't know, maybe I should ask, I should just know that I asked God. That I could, and, let him do the rest.
But I don't.
Yeah.
When you're asking, why that? You know, that's not easy. That's not easy to ask them. So how did I do it?
A lot of times when it comes to
You know, that did it.
you know what's in your heart.
You know what I mean?
And sometimes what's in your heart is not what comes out. You know what you wanted to say. You know the message you wanted to convey. So you try it.
I don't know if it's a character.
If you haven't already, get ready to switch up. Switch up if you haven't already. What'd you say, Heather? Switch up if you haven't already. Oh, Yeah, we have.
Take turns.
And I'm not saying it is.
But it seems to be.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm just not shy about that stuff. I'm shy about asking people why they aspire. Or why they would take another path. Every business.
Try it.
And, you know, and I have friends too, like yourself, that's what I specialize in.
Yeah.
Why am I not doing
Yeah.
your stuff? And the answer that comes back is, well, I'm kind of embarrassed to have my friends do my stuff.
Well, and again, right, who cares about you?
I'm not judgmental. I mean, if your bank account is low, I'm experienced that. That's really hard, but it's also branding.
So sometimes you're right, I know.
For you, a small business.
I know.
It's a long haul. I'm that person who doesn't see
So
you
you're right.
tax
The larger.
3 or 4 times a year.
And I'm thinking of-
Or for, you know, bookkeeping and payroll services. You need those services outsourced to us. You got better things to do. You know, you're trying to run a business. You didn't go into business and say, "Oh, I can't wait to do the bookkeeping payroll." You know, it does require some input, and it shouldn't require all that.
That's a really good one.
Okay, about one more minute. Ooh, one more minute.
I'll always make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna sugarcoat it for you. Yes, so see, you're my husband. I'm 50 shades of gray, plus 5. Has like 50 is not enough.
He's a computer engineer, right?
Yeah, you just like, you know, workday, so that's what that is. HR, accounting, payroll.
So it's a firm that does.
It's a software. So, like ADP software or SAP or Paychex. Yeah, the workday.
I'll tell you what, maybe I want to look into it, because if I could replace him to it.
Oh, that's, yeah.
I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
It's,
thing
it's
is,
the newest
everybody
guy
knows
on
that.
the block. Yeah, it's the newest guy on the block that has the most.
And then, they try to keep you in that box.
But I'm really, like, Ranger, I mean, we just.
I know the real.
As a, yeah, they have like.
The real need
I
is-
forget what I had.
Okay.
On the government side, but they haven't worked out.
A lot of great conversation here. Let's pull it back.
Oh, my God.
No, it's all, but yeah, that's almost it.
Yeah.
What did you notice about this authenticity conversation? I hear a lot of good conversation. I sat in on a couple. Anything?
Sherry and I had.
Go deep?
Sherry and I had similar, things that we'd like to work a little bit more on being authentic. So, financial advisor.
Maybe I need to be a little less authentic.
Well, that's not where I was going. So financial advisor, tax consultant and preparer, and we both are, our friends say they see us as authentic people,
Mhm.
yet they don't do business with us. And so we have that fear of saying, I want to do business with you, because who better to guide your financial journey than a friend who cares versus the 1-800 guy you call it wherever.
Mhm. Mhm.
At Fidelity, Michelle.
I went ahead for that, actually.
But that's something we
Don't do
both,
your TurboTax.
yeah.
Do me.
So, yeah, so we both feel like people see us as authentic, but then those that are closest to us don't do business with us. And so are we being too authentic? Are we being too transparent? Are we?
You asked me the question.
Well, that's literally what I said is I need to start making more of the I statements. Listen, I want to do business with you.
Yeah.
I want to help you prepare for the future. Tell me what's keeping us from doing that?
Do you think on the topic of finances, and if it's a personal friend, it can almost be like a.
Yeah, very embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want her, she's a financial advisor, I don't want her to see that I'm.
But yeah,
being
she-
vulnerable.
Yeah, I do think that's part of
That's
it.
a big one.
Yeah, I do. And so to be able
My
to,
bank account is so.
yeah, to be able to start to unpack some of that with people, right? To say, listen, I have accounts that are $5,000. I have accounts that are $5 million. I'm sure you fit somewhere in the middle.
Mhm.
And so being able to educate them better on, there's no, again, you know me, you know I'm authentic.
Yeah.
So where is the trusting that I'll never judge you?
So I wonder how much of this applies. We were having a conversation over here about authenticity from a different lens, but from one of like how to give feedback to somebody. And we talked about like asking permission first, right? Like are you open to some feedback? And I wonder if there's something that applies to that in this. Are you open to me asking you a question that I'm curious about, right? And I've noticed this, right? And then kind of telling the story that you've shared,
Yeah.
but in a way that like puts their defenses down. This isn't like I'm not begging you for your business, but rather like, what are those things that make you pause? Not even hesitant, you don't even have to put that in the word, but give you pause about doing business. Have they just not considered it, right? Like it's, what does that look like? Does anybody else have any ideas for them on this?
I'm a real private person.
Uh-huh.
And I was single for a long time. There's the book that was, maybe he's just not that into you. And so kind of going back to, it's not maybe that I don't think that you're trustworthy. It may not have anything to do with you. I just might be so private. It's just not something. And I don't know if it's that I'm embarrassed or I'm just that private, that's just something that, and I was raised kind of that way. I mean, we didn't talk about money, we didn't talk to your friends about money.
Right.
That's just the way I was, so it's not, it's my problem.
So you would rather work with a stranger because it's too personal to work with someone that you can, you call a friend.
That's so sweet.
That's
so sweet.
Okay.
If they judge the fact that I didn't pay my taxes all year and my return looks really ugly, that's different than if Sherry, who I have to see a lot, knows, what in the sand heck have you been doing? I don't know, she may underestimate it, turned out. It's just different.
Another analogy is like going to your uncle who are kindergartenists.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that might be a little too close.
Your words I did not think I would hear today.
Ever. You are not in the human. Yeah, return to the human table immediately.
That so reminds me of when I had my first child
Oh, no.
and after I had delivered, and like the next day, the RN comes in. And it was one of my friends from high school. We hadn't seen each other for, like 4 years.
And now she has seen you.
She goes like, she was coming in to check me and she went, I'm gonna get another RN. I don't think I can do this.
All right,
Okay,
sorry.
so
Before we go,
okay,
yeah,
so
poor Heather.
Authenticity,
Yeah,
authenticity,
yeah.
okay. So kind of the breaking down some of those barriers of asking the questions, right? Like it's you feel it, you know you want to do it, but it's the setup for how you want to do it, and almost challenging yourself in those moments. Okay, I know this has been an uncomfortable situation for me in the past. How do I want to address this differently? How do I want to step into my authenticity, knowing that I mean well, right? I am of integrity. I am whatever your I am statement was. Thinking of that to then step into your own authenticity. All right. All right. Our last step in this process is thinking about our development and our diversity of talent. We're going to start with the development. Now, I was very, very intentional with us starting off with our strengths and our talents and celebrating us, because who in here gets a 360 feedback or takes an assessment and gets it and like scroll through all the strengths and they're like, yeah, know that. And then I get to the bottom, it's like, what do I got to work on? Anybody? Anybody? Exactly. We don't need to do that, right? We can lean into our strengths and really utilize those. And so that's why we started there. Now, I want you to look at your list of gifts and talent, or the strengths, leadership strengths. And one of those things that you asterisked, or whatever mark you put next to it, what is one thing, not 10 things, but one thing you want to be very intentional about developing, okay? So take a moment and write, like, what is that strength that you want, or what is that characteristic that you would like to develop, and how? What are some tools and resources that will be necessary for you to do so? And keep writing, but then the last part of this is, what are some of those other characteristics on the sheet that maybe you didn't mark one way or another, but as you look at the people around you, they embody those qualities. So I'm going to give an example. Let's say you have a high skill of influence, or wait, what was the word that you used instead of influence? Inspiring others. But time management and productivity not your strong suit. Who can you partner with?
Heather, you know.
That can be, that can be the time management and productivity guru, right? That can keep you on track in meetings. How can you two partner together? You don't have to get better necessarily at time management and productivity, but they're going to support you in that, just like you inspire them. So looking at it from a different lens. Another example might be, maybe you have a high skill of adaptability and problem solving, but there are times that strategic thinking and visioning is not your forte, right? Imagine if you partnered with somebody who was a very great strategic thinker and visionary, and you were the one that knew how to execute and get things done in the moment. You make a pretty powerful pair. You might get into some like knockdown, drag out arguments about who's gonna do what, but but thinking about it that way. So think about your diversity of talent around you and what can you ask for support versus you trying to develop a skill that may not be quite as necessary for you to develop. Okay.
And she wasn't here for the hot seat coaching. But,
I know.
So what did we write down? I know we're coming close on time, so I'm kind of moving quick through this. What did we write down?
That I need to work on emotional intelligence.
Okay.
Because I'm very pragmatic, very black and white. And actually, got that much to throw people off when I'm telling them this is the path to solving your issue with the government. You know, because I tend to just tell it how I know it's gonna be.
Okay,
You
okay.
know?
Can I make a suggestion? You said I need to work on emotional intelligence. Do you want to?
Well, yeah, I would love to kind of be able to feed into the emotion that I know that person is having.
Okay.
Like you say, this person owes $50,000
Yes.
more to the IRS, and their first question is, can you make a deal?
Hmm.
And of course, my answer is always, it depends, because, and then I go into, in order to make a deal, we have to delve, like, we have to put a financial scope up your butt.
Okay, okay. That might be that might not be the most empathetic way to say it. I don't know.
That's how she is. So that's when Sherry calls me and asks me to give them the news, and I'll sugarcoat it.
Okay, okay.
So she wants you to know why does not want you to think.
Full circle, full circle. That was fantastic. Yeah. So, and I brought up the need and the want thing for a moment because really, like, if we tell ourselves, I need to get better at this skill, well, now you just made yourself a chore. Nobody, like, it's just, ugh, I need to do this. Your body like sits back and you're like, I need to do this. If you say, I want to become more emotionally intelligent, you naturally like lean into it. You get more excited about it. That's why I was picking on you a little bit about the need versus want. So looking at these as like, you want to develop a skill. Not both skills, a skill. Think of this as like a short story, right? You have a series of short stories. You're going to develop this skill within your short story now, and then develop another one should you choose. But it's a very intentional move. All right. Anybody else have any thoughts? I know we're coming here close to an end. And any other thoughts on, yeah,
Mine is time management. It's been a reoccurring theme
Okay.
in my life, and as I'm a very high, like, I'm a DI, like,
Yep.
so I feel like I get really excited about things, and then, I'm like, I don't say on to the next thing, but it's hard for me to like focus in, because I get so excited, and then I'm like inspiring others, and it's like, okay, but like in my day, like it's hard for me to stay on task. And I mean, you can see my calendar, I use calendar and I do hour by hour, and I think that like, I don't know what I'm working on, so this is something that I want to work on.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly a good example of.
Correct.
I tell my personal. What I can do. Yeah.
And so there's lots of tools and resources out there, obviously, but it's also putting time in the calendar to be intentional. Okay, what are those tools and resources I want to use? Right? Making intentional time to look at it is also important because it's one thing to say that we want to do those things. And it's a whole other thing to hold ourselves accountable towards it and have an accountability partner within them, right? Do you have a friend or a colleague or somebody who is very good at time management? Not that you replicate, again, comparison, thief of joy, but what are some things that they have tried? What are some people that they know that are good at this too? Do they have suggestions and thoughts for you? Systems.
Yeah, we talked about earlier.
Systems, absolutely. Okay. So continue to build on this. And by the way, okay, so your secret sauce for successful and joyful leader, know your talents. Be authentic in those talents. Have that development plan and include that diversity of talent around you. You don't have to get better at every single skill, but intentional focus on one skill and diversity of talent around you. I put out a weekly email called the Midweek Check-in that is a just inspiration, motivation, challenges, sometimes some humor from my life. And it's just a free newsletter that I do because connection, I told you at the beginning, connection is really big for me. And so in an entrepreneurial solo world, that is my one way of connecting with people. So if you are interested, you can do the QR code there. But I stand before you not in a blackout zone of authenticity, but rather really connecting. And I appreciate the time and I hope that this secret sauce supports you in being a confident self. I did include some additional resources, because we only had an hour, that may be supportive to you. There's a prioritization matrix, by the way, that you might know in your time management. But those are some tools that clients of mine use a lot. And so I was like, oh, we'll just add those to the back. If you have any questions on those, feel free to email me or call me and I can tell you how those work. All right?